know I only made 2 sweaters like this, so I had some problems. I ran into some real issues, and I never got to finish that London Bridge sweater. I tried a few other patterns of other objects, and also they didn't work out, and I became really frustrated with myself. I was even thinking of calling it quits and just knitting simple, solid color things again. But then I told myself, this is what I really want to do. If I don't do this, I'll just be an ordinary knitter. So I had to really come up with something and maybe make it something easy. So I thought about a castle. So this is also with the summer coming close, I realized I couldn't wear long sleeve woolly sweaters in the summer. So I decided to use cotton and make something short sleeved like a t-shirt. And this is what I made. This is my third sweater with a picture. My first short sleeve one. It doesn't look like a great piece of art once again, but I know some things will work out and some things not. So after I got this done, I was thinking of doing a city once again, and I thought about New York City and the skyscrapers. So I decided to do one with the New York skyline. I most notably decided to include the Twin Towers in it. This was in May of 2001. I worked on it throughout the month of May, and at the end of May, I took a trip by bus to New York a day, and I wore this there and actually went to the top of the Twin Towers. Little would I know that just a few months later, the Twin Towers would get destroyed. But by now, I was whipping out a new sweater every few weeks. Once again, I decided to go back and try London Bridge, this time for the summer instead of a winter design with short sleeves. So I also noticed something else. People were going up to me, noticing I was wearing sweaters with light blue skies all the time. And someone even suggested to me calling my company Blue Sky Sweaters. And I knew I had to do something different in terms of that. So for this, I decided to use royal blue to make a night sky. One of the other issues I had faced is I didn't yet see myself as an artist, but I saw myself as a future businessman mass-producing these things. Still, people were coming up to me and saying, oh, this was art. I was thinking, how can I possibly call myself an artist? I've never been to art school. I've never been professionally trained. I've never had any certifications. Me, an artist? It took me a while before I accepted that finally I was an artist. It was gradually over the course of that year that I discovered that different yarns resembled different things in the real world. For example, variegated blue yarn, and this is variegated yarn. In case you don't know, it changes colors throughout. But here's variegated blue yarn can resemble a body of water. Variegated red and yellow look like a sun-setting sky. You can go on and on. There's all kinds of ways you can resemble different elements of nature and other things in the real world, or outer space for that matter. As you notice, what I use for the sun here, this is a yellow yarn with the spot sticking out, and that became the sun.
I remember I was in the swimming pool when you were knitting that at the JCC in Owensville.
Yes, that's my mother-in-law, who I knew even before my wife. Anyway, I discovered even solid color yarns can go a long way in making things. And you can even combine yarns to do all kinds of creative things too, like this one.
I love that one.
Or this. Like as you see, these are meant to be tigers, and I made it by combining an orange and a black yarn, and I stuck in a white tiger at the last minute too. These are two yarns put together to look like vegetation. So now I have my craft all set. For one thing, I am Jewish, and I got this idea in my head. What a piece of cake, make a sweater to represent every Jewish holiday and wear it on those holidays. So the next holiday that was coming up on my calendar when I had the idea was Sukkot, which is in the fall. So it gave me the idea, make a Sukkot sweater featuring the sukkah, which is a little hut that is built with certain specifications that meals are eaten in during the holiday. So off to work, I got on a sweater featuring a sukkah. This is the inside of the sukkah with the table. These are the decorations. And this is the view of the sukkah from the outside. And these are, on the sleeves, these are different kinds of props that are used to perform a ritual on the holiday. I later would make sweaters for all the other holidays. Like this one is for Hanukkah. And as a matter of fact, these flames of the candles glow in the dark. So now I have one or more sweaters for every Jewish holiday. I also have made for other themes. Like in 2001, I went to an Orioles game. The Orioles won that game, but there was something I was really sad about. I didn't have a sweater to wear at that game, so I promised myself that by the next baseball season, I would have a Camden Yards sweater made. So after the game, I went to a yarn shop and bought some yarn that I was planning to use to make the Camden Yards sweater. But I was in no hurry to make it because there was going to be the off season. But later, like shortly before the next baseball season began, I started on the Camden Yards sweater. But about halfway through, I noticed that this green yarn over here that I used for the field, I had run out of it right when I got to around here. But I looked at all the yarn shops around and they no longer sold it. Fortunately, I still had some labels from it, so I had the color number, so I called every yarn shop in Maryland until I found there was one in Bethesda that had it. So I told them real quickly, please put 2 skeins of it on hold and I'll be right over. So I got in my car and on the highway, there I was heading to Bethesda. I was thinking when I saw myself in all this traffic on the highway, everyone is here for some useful purpose, probably relating to their work or something, and my purpose of being here is just to get some yarn for a sweater. I was thinking, am I crazy? What am I doing causing all this pollution? And I realized this is my future. This is for a good cause. It turned out I finished the sweater 3 days later. As you'll notice here, you look close up, since yarn can be made at different times and not the exact shade of every color because they can't always get it the same. You can tell the difference here. And there have been other occasions when I've got an hour from home just to get some yarn. During the 2002 Olympics, I had a lot of time to knit because I was watching the Olympics all the way through, and it gave me an idea, make a sweater with some skiers. So early on, I bought some yarn to make that. This is one of the hardest yarns I've ever had to knit with because it's very hard to dig into the stitch to get under the yarn the way it's made. Ironically, this was the fastest sweater I ever made in just 11 days. A record that still stands to this day. Later that year, after making lots of sweaters, I decided to try some other things as well. For one thing, I met the love of my life that year, who is right here, and we started dating. We got married in 2003, and one of the things she told me was that she wanted me to knit some things for her. And I was thinking, okay, I'll do that.